Welcome to the Dirt Road Tourist, a podcast about overlanding where we focus on the places you find on the way to camp. I'm Ken, and we aren't overlanding to find the most difficult off-road trails. We're seeking out the delicious food, the people, the culture, and sometimes the oddities, the America that you can only find when you leave the interstates behind and get out into the country. We'll talk about gear, camping tips to make your life out here more comfortable, interesting places to see, and vehicles that get you out to the good stuff. Join Susan and I to hear what we discover next on this episode of the Dirt Road Tourist. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Dirt Road Tourist. So today I'm going to be talking about a great item that we found for all of you people traveling with pets. We have a 6-month-old German Shepherd that we travel with named Fisher. And this was a piece of gear that we found on our recent trip that really made things better for both us and for him. I'm also going to be talking about the ways that we get around out there on our trips and how to find things and to do and see along the way. But before we get to that, I wanted to talk a little bit about listener engagement. We're out there on Spotify, I'm out there on iHeart, and we're on Apple Podcasts. Be honest with you, I'm not sure what all I signed up the RSS feed for whenever I was setting this up. There was a bunch of them out there. But Apple Podcast is the one that has the best review feature. So if you even if you have an Android, they're out there. They have an app for Android for Apple Podcasts, but they also have the website. So if you could go over and leave a review on there, it helps me to understand kind of ways to improve the show and who's listening, but it also helps to reach a wider audience and to kind of grow the show. And I'll, of course, always hit the subscribe button. And I know you might be thinking, well, you're only 4 podcasts in, and 5 to 7 is where a lot of podcasts get to before the host quits on it. This is not going to be another 7-episode wonder. We're not going anywhere. I've got a list of about 50 topics that I'm burning through, and once I get through those, we'll go from there. But this isn't going anywhere. I'm going to be continuing to talk each week about overlanding out here. So we are also on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on, well, whatever Twitter is calling itself these days. I refuse to call it X, but all you have to do is just plug in Dirt Road Tourist into the search bar, look for the logo, and we are on there. I'm also reachable at via email, ken@dirtroadtourist.com. So you can definitely send me an email. Give me suggestions, give me ideas, give me your thoughts. Give me any thoughts on the episodes that I do here because I welcome emails, and might even talk about them on the podcast. I'm going to do my best to try to keep these requests for engagement brief because I value your time and I value my own. And I'm going to try to spare you the 5 minutes of your life that you never seem to get back whenever you're listening to podcasts and people asking you to hit like and subscribe and check me out here and check this social out there. I'm not trying to do this to get internet famous necessarily. I don't have a problem sitting here talking to myself, but it's nice to be able to reach an audience. And there might be some people out there who could actually use to be able to find this information here and might enjoy listening. So definitely, if you can give me a little bit of engagement out there and a review, that it will go a long way towards helping the Dirt Road Tourist get out to people. So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. Listen up, all you pet owners out there. I want to talk a little bit today about the Gorilla Grip brand water bottle for pets. This solved a little bit of a problem for us on our last trip, and that was how to offer Fisher some water while we're actually traveling. We do regular pit stops, of course. Usually when we stop for fuel, we're going to let him out and let him do his business, get out on the leash a little bit. But you have to go into the drawer system, pull out his bowls, put food and water in there, and then clean everything up and store it back into the drawer system after he's done. And then there wasn't really any way, especially on days when we're making a lot of miles trying to get from home to an area that we're going to be visiting. Sometimes there's days when you're doing a long drive and you either have to plan extra stops in there in order for them to get some water, or you have to have some way of being able to give it to them in a car. And the Gorilla Grip water bottle for pets, it's basically a little water bottle, a squeezed water bottle that has a silicone bowl on the top of it. It flips down to form around the sides of the bottle when you're not using it. And then you flip this little lid up and it forms a little bowl sitting on top of the bottle. And there's a valve in the bottom of the bowl that you twist to open, squeeze the bottle, it dispenses water up into the bowl, and then you offer that to your dog, and they can drink from it. One of the things that we found that was really cool about this is that it wedges perfectly into the cup holders at the back of the console in the truck. One of the 14 cup holders that are in the Toyota Tacoma. That thing has more cup holders than a minivan. But we could wedge this thing in there and he can drink from it. And another nice surprise it was that it was pretty clean. He actually was able to do it fairly neatly to get his water, which if you've ever had a German Shepherd, you'll know that the only way to get water into a German Shepherd neatly is to start an IV. But the splash was mostly minimal from this. Didn't do anything to help the drool after he drinks, but we've got blankets in the back seat for that. But this did a great job of being able to get offer some water while we're actually traveling, while we're actually driving, and he was able to stay a lot better hydrated while we're on our drives. So there will be a link for this in the show notes. I'll make sure to put a link up there in case you're curious about it and want to find it. But this would also be great if you're a backpacker because it's about the same diameter as an average Nalgene water bottle. And you could basically take this and slip it into a side pocket on your backpack and be able to offer water to your pet on hikes. It's fairly leak proof whenever you have that valve closed. It's totally leak proof. You can turn this thing upside down and the water stays where you want it to stay inside the bottle. But you can open that valve, squeeze it. You got a little drink there for your fur friend. And it worked like a charm on the trip. So we really enjoyed having this bottle, and I thought that I might like to talk about it and put a little good word out there. So if it's something that you're looking for, a way to handle getting water to your pet, that's a good idea to look that one up. So check out the link and check out the bottle. It may work for you as well as it did for us. Getting into my main topic, I wanted to talk today about ways of getting around and ways of navigating out there. So we use typically two main programs, Gaia and Onyx, and we subscribe to both. I like navigating with Gaia mostly because it's for one thing, it's on the CarPlay in the truck, so I can have the Gaia map out there right on the screen and the dashboard. So, and Gaia has more overlays than Onyx does. So you've got your overlanding onlay, you've got your MVUM, which is the vehicle use maps that are out there from the Forest Service roads and things like that. But it also has the highway overlays so that it's able to navigate you from the house all through interstates, through Forest Service roads, through anything that you're going to be traveling on the whole time that you're on a trip. And Gaia can handle all of that and be able to build routes for it. We also subscribe to Onyx, and I like Onyx. What I use Onyx more for is for browsing for trails and things to go on whenever we're going to be in an area, because you can actually click on trails that have been mapped out in Onyx and it'll offer reviews. Somebody who has driven this trail before, a reviewer for Onyx, will have driven the trail and they'll offer a review. There's a point system from 1 to 5 as to the difficulty of the trail, so that you can kind of look at the review and see what you're getting into. But in addition to the review, because one of the problems with reviews that I've heard people mention before is that who's driving the trail, what are they driving over the trail, and what is a one or a two to them versus what is a one or a two to me, based on what I'm driving. So, to that end, whenever you click on a review for a trail, you'll also typically find pictures in there. And usually the pictures are going to be at the most interesting parts of the trail. So you can kind of look at the pictures and get a clear idea of what you're getting into if you wanted to actually try that route. So Onyx is great to me anyway for finding more off-road, more off the beaten path type places to go and routes to go on, and to kind of know what I'm getting into and whether we actually want to take Bonnie down that. So Gaia is basically our main navigation, and Onyx is a way of finding things, of finding places to go. But there are a lot of ways of finding things along a route whenever you're planning a trip. So one of the different ways of finding things, how to find things when you're going on a trip to somewhere, is Google Maps. It's probably one of the most all purpose ones out there. And you can take the Google map and center it in an area that you're going to be on and use the search feature. And it's great for finding food and fuel stops, particularly fuel stops. So really, if you're going to be going anywhere off of the pavement, it's a good idea to have a full tank of gas before your tires touch gravel or touch dirt. So you usually want to, whenever you're doing a kind of a departure from civilization in that sense, it's a good idea to find a fuel stop that's as close to that area as you can find so that you have somewhere built in that, on that part of the route that you're going to stop and fill up the vehicle. And with Google Maps, you can actually search for filling stations, you can search for restaurants, you can search for all these different things. And whenever you click on a specific stop, a specific station or something like that, you can copy the address from that entry for that station, and then you can paste that in over on Gaia. It'll take you straight to that spot, and then you can place a waypoint there in Gaia so that you actually have that waypoint saved on your route. So it's great for keeping the Gaia map organized into a cohesive route so that you know where your places that you're going to be going to for food, what restaurants you're going to be going to, different points of interest along your route. But it also, great for planning out where you're going to do your fuel stops. Yelp Yelp, yes, it's still out there. It's like a lot of things that are built by Gen X. It's people have forgotten that it's still there, but it's still out there chugging away. So Yelp is great for finding restaurants. It's got a great, very established reviews for a lot of places, unless it's just totally a brand new restaurant. But a lot of the mom and pops that have been around for a while, you'll find a good review base in Yelp, and you can kind of get an idea of what's good on the menu, what this restaurant is about, what do they serve. You can find menus and stuff on there and decide if that's something that you wanted to check out while you're out on your trip. But the reviews are helpful in determining the quality of the place and seeing if it's something that you want to stop into while you're out there. TripAdvisor. Believe it or not, TripAdvisor is actually a really good place for finding stuff on overland trips too. You can find great again for finding food stops, but you can search, you can center the map in an area, do a search, or you can put in an address, put in an area, a town name that you're going to be going through on your route, and do a search, and it'll show you a whole list of things to do in that area. And you can kind of do this along your route from town to town to town, place those towns in and do searches, and it'll give you ideas on things to stop at and do while you're out there on your trip. TripAdvisor, I find in particular, is really good if you like visiting breweries or you like visiting wineries or distilleries. It seems to have them all in there. In any given area you put in a town, it's going to show you a handful of those. So if that's something that you really like to do, definitely check out TripAdvisor because it's fantastic for that. Another great app or a website for checking out things to do when you're planning a route is Roadside America. And Roadside America is great for finding some of the off the beaten track attractions. Think of things like World's Biggest Chair, World's Biggest Ball of Twine, or The Thing out in New Mexico. If you've ever been out there, you know what I'm talking about. But they have a web map on their website that has little pinpoints. You can do the maps by state, and it's got all these little push pins throughout the state there, and each one of those push pins is something oddball to visit, and those are kind of cool. Checking out if you're going to be going through a particular area, see what kind of things are on Roadside America, and it can kind of help you find some interesting things to see. Yeah, you might find something that makes for that great Instagram post for you. Atlas Obscura is another website. It's kind of like Roadside America. It also kind of dedicates itself to finding some of the oddball things that you might see in an area. So I usually check both of those to whenever we're going to be going into an area just to see if there's something worth seeing in that area. Kind of on the oddball side, on the weird side. But a lot of those things can turn into a fun way to spend a part of your afternoon is going out to some of these things. State and national park websites. Those are awesome for, especially if you're going to be visiting a state or national park. They'll have useful information on points of interest. They'll have information on whether something's closed due to a recent weather event or wildfire or something they have going through there. You'll find useful information to help plan a visit to those parks. You can purchase your park passes online. You can schedule campsites online through the national park websites. And it'll have information on conditions, things like burn bans or something like that, so that you can know whether you need to take a gas fire pit or can you take your wood burning fire pit. Are you going to be able to actually have wood fires? Things like that will be on those websites. So that's a really good thing to have there and to check out. But things like Gaia and Onyx, that's probably worth an episode of its own, and I'll probably do an episode on each one of those and a little bit going into a little bit more detail about what they do and how well they do it and how to kind of use those. But just know for right now that the Onyx, I typically use it for scouting an area and looking for trails to go on, and then I'll use Gaia to actually navigate while we're on our drive. So it'll be our primary mapping app. So that's the rundown of the apps and the different websites that we use. Do you have any favorites any tools that you use for digging up things to do while you're out there on the road? Definitely drop me an email and let me know whatever you have that you find useful for this. Again, my email is ken@dirtroadtourist.com. And yeah, if you have any suggestions or things that are good for finding stuff along a route, I would love to hear it from you. So that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to talk about today. Again, don't be a lurker. Hit that subscribe button. Come back and join us each week for this. And definitely hit me up on the socials, wave hi on Facebook, that sort of stuff. Leave me a review. And be sure to join us next week when I have another episode about where I talk about overlanding and overlanding travel. Until then, have a great week and go see something amazing.